Game of Thrones is my all-time favorite TV show. Although the ending was widely hated, it hasn't affected my perception of this show. I still hold it up as the best thing I've ever seen on television, and I've watched it numerous times. One of the things I love about Game of Thrones is its number of well-fleshed out female characters. Yet the show is not feminist. Women have prominent roles within a patriarchal society and hold significant power. As an anti-feminist woman, I hold that women have never been oppressed in the ways that feminism claims. We have always held power, just in different ways from men. There are some excellent female characters in this show, and in this video I'm going to discuss some of my favorites. My name is Zarina Matcha, and you're watching The Rational Female. If you enjoy my content, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel. Let's start with Daenerys. She is an incredible character. She begins as an abused young girl, quickly becomes Khaleesi, and eventually rules Meereen. A conqueror determined to free the slaves, she is also ruthless and power-hungry. This perfectly depicts how many real-life conquerors became tyrannical. Plenty of revolutionary leaders have promised freedom, only to become oppressors themselves. I believe that her downfall was greatly foreshadowed. In the first season, she watched coldly as her brother was killed. In Qarth, she declared, "I will take what is mine with fire and blood." By the end, she is a detached anti-heroine. To call Daenerys a victim is insulting to her character. She embodies strength, bravery, and hard-headed determination. Next is Arya Stark, one of my favorite characters and the embodiment of a formidable woman. She comes from a great family and has a father who allows her to be herself. Arya's journey is extraordinary. She escapes the Lannisters, learns of her family's deaths, becomes an assassin, and ultimately kills the Night King. She is bloodthirsty, smart, and ruthless. Her scenes with the Hound are some of my favorites, and she repeatedly outwits her enemies, especially the waif in Braavos. One of my favorite moments is when she kills the Freys and avenges her family. A solid lady. Margaery Tyrell is one of the most fascinating women on the show. Her goal is simple: to be the queen. She uses traditionally feminine strengths like charm, warmth, and strategic sweetness to get ahead. People respond well to kindness, especially when it comes from someone socially adept, and usually someone female. Is it manipulative? Perhaps. But if the intention is to create goodwill, it isn't necessarily negative. Throughout history, women in positions of power have wielded influence in similar ways. Psychological manipulation is very feminine, as it is a soft, subtle form of power. Margaery also boosts the men around her. One key role many women naturally adopt in relationships is elevating their partner's social standing. She does this very cleverly with Joffrey, winning the love of the people while crediting him for it. Standing beside her, his ego grows, and so does her security. This is why he never mistreats her despite him being an evil sociopath. Margaery is one of the best players in the Game of Thrones, expertly managing figures like Joffrey and Tommen, although of course her behavior is not liked by everyone. Which brings me to Cersei, one of my favorite villains. Cersei is deeply fascinating, fiercely protective of her children, and shaped by a scarred past. Her relationship with Jaime is toxic and self-possessive. By the end, she becomes the quintessential evil queen, ruthless and consumed by hatred. The scene where she blows up the Great Sept of Baelor with wildfire is one of my favorite scenes. I love how it builds up with all the music, and it's great to see her get rid of the Faith Militant, even though their rise to power was her own fault. Her death feels fitting. She dies alongside her twin brother, just as the prophecy foretold, a poetic end to a complex villain. Brienne of Tarth is the opposite of Cersei and serves as Jaime Lannister's other great love. If Cersei represents his darkness, Brienne represents his light. She is honorable, dutiful, kind, and morally grounded, a woman who stands by her word. She vows to protect Sansa and Arya for Catelyn Stark, and she follows through. In the books, she is mocked for her appearance and called Brienne the Beauty, yet she becomes physically formidable and defeats the very men who ridiculed her. Guided by a good father and strong values, she refuses to take nonsense from anyone. One of the best characters in the series. Melisandre, the Red Woman, inspires a man to murder both his brother and his daughter. A religious fanatic, she commits one of the worst atrocities in the show. Princess Shireen's death is arguably worse to watch than the Red Wedding. Melisandre is far from oppressed. She is deeply manipulative, using charm and sexuality to push Stannis towards terrible acts. She truly believes in the Lord of Light, echoing the certainty of zealots throughout history who justify the unforgivable. Her only redeemable actions are resurrecting Jon Snow and aiding the fight during the Long Night, although the battle was somewhat underwhelming despite its visuals. Figures like her appear throughout myth and literature, the archetypal mystical woman who inspires men towards destruction, like Lady Macbeth. Finally, Sansa Stark is the character that I relate to the most. She begins as an innocent girl who believes in fairy tale love, only to endure extraordinary horrors. She watches her father executed, she is held hostage by the Lannisters, is abused by Littlefinger, and later tortured by Ramsay Bolton. Deeply traumatized, she nevertheless rises, and her ending is one of the most satisfying in the series. I remember crying when she was crowned Queen in the North. She deserved that ending. Overall, Game of Thrones portrays women brilliantly. It showcases female strength, influence, and complexity without reducing them to ideology. There is nothing feminist about this show, it is simply good storytelling.